If you are only interested in explanations, I am afraid you will feel that I have not answered your question. To ask what is intelligence is like asking what is life. Life is study, play, sex, work, quarrel, envy, ambition, love, beauty, truth. Life is everything, is it not? But you see, most of us have not the patience earnestly and consistently to pursue this inquiry. Questioner: can the crude mind become sensitive? Krishnamurti: listen to the question, to the meaning behind the words. Can the crude mind become sensitive? If I say my mind is crude and I try to become sensitive, the very effort to become sensitive is crudity. Please see this. Don't be intrigued, but watch it. Whereas if I recognize that I am crude without wanting to change, without trying to become sensitive, if I begin to understand what crudeness is, observe it in my life from day to day, the greedy way I eat, the roughness with which I treat people, the pride, the arrogance, the coarseness of my habits and thoughts, then that very observation transforms what is. Welcome to the Krishnamurti podcast. Happy Halloween. This is episode number 95, and we shall continue from the last episode, the 10th talk at Ommen, Holland, delivered by Krishnamurti on August 11, 1933. So let's listen in. We have intellectually said that self-preservation is very selfish. So though we go on earning, exploiting, and being exploited, we are all the time covering that up and spiritually running away into truth. So our actions are not harmonious. And you will only understand that action which is complete and therefore infinite when you do your business, your social activity, your religious idea as a whole thing. Then you are a complete human being. That means that one has to think quite differently and to feel quite differently from the way in which we are accustomed to. You will at once say, what will happen if I do not lay up money? You will see, you are looking to security, and therefore your actions are always limited through fear. And yet you are trying not to be afraid. So your actions are contradictory. Your actions are not complete in the present because you are looking to the future when you lay up and wonder what is going to happen to you when you are 60. Again, when you want to fit into society, into the social machine, because that feeling is so strong, you are afraid to go against it, afraid to be yourselves, or religiously, it is exactly the same thing. Our actions are not born out of a completeness of thinking and feeling because we never face these things all together at the same time. Again, when you want to fit into society, into the social machine, because that feeling is so strong, you are afraid to go against it, afraid to be yourselves, or religiously, it is exactly the same thing. Our actions are not born out of a completeness of thinking and feeling because we never face these things all together at the same time. We are trying to solve economic difficulties through economic conditions by altering the economic system. We say we will alter that carefully and we will be perfect along that line. And the same thing socially and spiritually. We do not bring it all together and act completely as a human being. So our actions are broken up, split up, and hence they are conforming all the time and we are unconscious of it. So to understand that wholeness, that fullness of life, do not try to make the economic system perfect, independent of your social and religious life. And do not make your spiritual life perfect away from your social and economic life. So the breather comes. What Krishnamurti is saying, if you have been listening, and that requires an art of listening, the art of listening, which is, by the way, the title of my blog on WordPress, samrockcafe.wordpress.com. What Krishnamurti is saying is simple. It's all together. It's not that the economic life is different from the social life, and it's not that the social life is different from the religious life or the spiritual life. And if you have listened to any Krishnamurti at all or read any Krishnamurti, unlike the modern glib talkers, he doesn't distinguish between spiritual and religious. People Some people say in the West, oh, I am not religious, I am spiritual. And if you come to the East, they say, oh, I am very religious. It's not a taboo in India to say that I am religious. It's a matter of pride. And religion comes in all shapes and shades. They eat meat, smoke, and go to a temple, offer some sattvic, what I call sattvic food, like fruits and milk, to gods or to a god. So, coming back to Krishnamurti, he goes on and says, so, to understand that wholeness, that fullness of life, do not try to make the economic system perfect, independent of your social and religious life, and do not make your spiritual life perfect, away from your social and economic life. This is really very simple. You can see for yourself how you are acting. You have a spiritual standard, a social standard, and a business standard. And you are acting according to these standards. And you call that action. Such action, to me, is purely imitating. It is not action at all. It is just copying. C-O-P-Y-I-N-G, copying. You know, there is a joke I must tell you from my school days in India. We would watch with amusement a classmate who would have a rubber band on his arms, both arms, and tucked underneath the rubber band are little sheets of paper in which he has scribbled the answers. And based on the question that is asked, he will take out one scribble and he will copy it. That is copying to me. It stays in my mind. That is the conditioning. I mean, the poor fellow took so much effort to write those little sheets of paper. Why could he not just memorize those and then apply that to the question? So he knows which copy, and there are maybe 20 sheets tucked under each arm. So 40 little sheets of paper neatly folded and tucked under a rubber band. And he knows which piece of paper he has to go to for which question. But he will not remember it. He remembers the copy, the sheet of paper. That is copying. Commit to the memory, vomit in the examination is what was taught in India. And when I went to MIT, the Sloan School of Management, from which I got my master's degree in business, it's called the MBA, Master of Barely Anything. But that's not what we were taught. We were taught to be CEOs. And there was no copying like that, but it was a different kind of copying. Like there would be teams of folks. It's teamwork. And then they give you an assignment. And one person in the team does it. They take turns and do it for different assignments to save time. And then you identify who is doing it from another team. If you are very friendly or outgoing, and then you both connect. And if he is smarter and has completed it, you ask him, hey, can I see what you have done? And this one gives it to you, shows it to you, whatever. You go to a couch and you sit there and chit-chat. He chit-chats and you read up his answer. And then that is a kind of copying. Or individual assignments. I'll not name the person. He asked me, have you completed that assignment? I just couldn't get to it. And I show it to him. He sees it. He writes it while the professor is yelling or barking or saying something in the front and we are at the back. It's a big classroom in MIT. And he writes the answer. And at the end of the class, you are submitting assignments. He submits it. That is copying. So in America, it's a lot about show and copying, and it all is wonderful. So Krishnamurti here, coming back to the talk, says, you have a spiritual standard, a social standard, and a business standard, and you are acting according to these standards, and you call that action. Such action, to me, is purely imitating. It is not action at all. It is just copying. In it, there is no thinking, real individual thinking, questioning. I said yesterday that you are trying to approach the wholeness through the part. You say, I will make the economic condition perfect, or the social condition perfect, or the spiritual condition perfect, and I will get the whole. You cannot. You must approach it completely, and your actions must be complete. That means that to think is to act. You cannot separate it. To feel is to act. You cannot divide and say, I will feel one thing and act another, or I will think one thing and feel another. In such action, there is always a finality, and hence there is fear of death, of unfulfilled opportunities, and therefore a looking to the future. So folks, we end the podcast here with this note that Krishnamurti has talked about not acting infinitely, completely, and thus coming face to face with death, with unfulfilled opportunities. Like take the case of someone who spent 30 years in USA, could not achieve a thing materially, and has a craving for material stuff, which I have gone into in sufficient detail in prior podcasts and in my blog titled Craving at samyogi.substack.com/craving, or you go to samyogi.substack.com and look for a writing titled Craving. Don't look up other stuff like Kundalini, the awakening, or the descent, because that will take you elsewhere. Because I do write on yoga, and people just put some music I have seen on Amazon, music called Kundalini, and sell it for $3.99. I'll end the podcast here. Thank you. You have a wonderful day.